Hey, y'all. Here we are. Let's do this thing. Hey, everyone. I don't know what that is. Hold on. Oh, look, I can like do a poll. This is cool. All right. New things to check out. Hey guys, let's try and make things look a little presentable here. Move my camera around. See the new artwork. This is Moo and Vincent. Gracie made that yesterday for y'all. So welcome. Okay. Actually, I was going to use my iPad and I don't actually know how to do that on this particular program. So let me try to figure this out. No, it's not plugged into my computer. I need to do that. Okay, so while I do that, hello everyone. Today we are talking about the 3 keys to lower your set point after 40. What the heck do I mean by that? I mean, after 40, our bodies change, don't they? How fun is that? And we need to start learning some new stuff in order to be able to do what we used to be able to do easier, like lose weight and stuff like that. All right, let me see if I can get my. Hey guys, Julia in Virginia, hello. Let me know where y'all are from, where you're watching from today. Very, very exciting. I don't even know if I can get my iPad on here, actually. So that's kind of a bummer. I know how to do it on Zoom, but I don't actually know how to do it on my iPad. I wonder if I can, sorry guys, technical stuff. I think I can actually share this, but I won't be able to write on it. Okay, well, we'll just skip it. Oh, Brian is here from Wisconsin. Good to see you. Here, I'll do this. This will be like very old school. 3 keys to lower your set point after 40. Okay, I'm just going to have to read off because y'all can't see this very good. Well, I'll put it here so you can screenshot it if you want it. This is what I'm going to be talking about now. So, set point meaning maybe our body gets stuck in a certain weight range. And we have more trouble losing weight than we used to in the past. Maybe in our 20s and 30s, we might have been able to just kind of push hard, do a cleanse, do a challenge, and 5 pounds fall off, 10 pounds fall off with some real brute force, right? Anyone have any experience with that? Let me know in the comments if you guys have experience with that kind of like brute force thing. Jackie from New York. Hi, my dear. Happy to see you. So that brute force thing, maybe it worked for a while, or maybe it's never worked perfectly. Like maybe it worked for a while and then the weight kind of came back up. And yeah, those were the days. Free Spirit says those were the days when you used to be able to just push some elbow grease and that weight would come off. I know for me personally, it had always been possible, but then it still felt tenuous. My weight would still feel like, well, if I had a bunch of bad days in a row, I could gain 5-10 pounds real quick, right? So any progress I had made, it was still tenuous. I never felt like I could really hold on to it. So for me, it had always been, it required a lot of control. And that's, honestly, the business that I had back in the day when I started this, it was called The Watering Mouth. And then it changed to Nourish Your Lifestyle a few years back. It was always about eat to live, nutritarian style eating. And for me, in order to stick to it, I would have to do these kinds of challenges, sort of things, where you just sort of white knuckle for a while, as I'm saying. And most of my audience had the same thing too, where they would be doing, 60, 80% nutritarian, but then there'd be that 20-40% that wasn't nutritarian. And so there would be periods where they'd be so happy for me to be putting on these challenges, which were meal plans and directions for how to cook and stuff like that, because it gave them a chance to buckle down and do that forceful thing. And the thing about that is that's the experience that I had for myself, but also for my audience. I was creating these things and they sold like hotcakes, right? Like I sold a lot of those, I'd have 200 people doing them at a time. And it goes to show you that, if you could just do that sort of very restrictive, specific cleanse type therapeutic style eating every single day without a problem, the challenges wouldn't have sold the way they did, right? Everyone would have already been doing that. So they'd be like, I don't need a challenge. This is how I eat all the time. So it shows that there is a large portion of the population that have trouble. I mean, the existence of challenges themselves, or cleanses or fasts, proves that our regular eating is not as perfect as we think it should be, right? But what if the actual problem is that we're expecting it to be so perfect and it's actually not possible for it to be perfect? And the challenge is actually finding out how to do it in a way that fits our life instead of trying to mold our life to fit it. Okay, stay with me. I'm getting off on a tangent here. So, yeah. Brian says white knuckling with obsessive scale watching seemed to work for a while. It does, doesn't it? Especially in, say, when I started dieting when I was 19 or 18, maybe. And you're like, I did Slim Fast back in the day, right? In the year 2000 was when I first did Slim Fast. And I mean, the weight fell off because I had really good willpower at the time because I'd never done it before. I was able to, but, and also I'll say the extreme calorie restriction made it so that I could lose weight really quickly. I was losing like a pound a day. So that's not a lot of time to have to white knuckle, right? So you think maybe you lose 30 pounds in 30 days. I mean, it was intense what I was doing. I was like really going after it, right? And when you do that extreme stuff, so let's think about it. Me, age 18, whatever, do Slim Fast the first time, lose a ton of weight. What's actually happening up in the brain neurologically is it's going, what's happening? Where's our food? Right? It starts freaking out. But because we're young and our metabolism isn't, thrown off by all dieting for 20 years or whatever, it kind of just bounces back and it's cool. But I had to hold on so hard, counting my almonds and counting, you know, all these little things that I would eat just to have this perfect calorie count and whatever. And it was exhausting. The more we do that over time, over these decades, the more the brain goes, I see what you're trying to do again. I'm not going to let you do it. So the problem is what's going wrong here? The old methods that we used to try, they're no longer working, right? As Brian says, it seemed to work for a while, right? It no longer works. And my experience is like that, where in these last 5, 6 years, it's been me trying to ideally get back to eat to live and start doing that again. And it was like I was just coming up on a wall every few days. I would try, and even it got to the point where it was like half a day. I could maybe do half a day and then nothing else, right? Let me know if you guys have any experiences like that. Not maybe not necessarily with Eat to Live, but any type of diet or weight loss attempt that you've tried to do. You try to do it and it's like some invisible force is holding you back, right? So I know for me in the last couple of years, it was trying to get back to Eat to Live, trying to, no salt, no oil, this many greens, this much mushrooms, this much whatever, trying to hit all those little points again. And just every time I would try, it would be like, 12 hours later, I'm like, oh, I can't, I'm hungry. I need to eat something, right? Whereas 10 years before that, it was fairly simple because I had a much simpler life. I had no kids at the time. My husband was traveling for work. And so I was just home alone all the time. That's when I first started making videos. And my home was completely clear of junk, right? Completely clear on purpose because I was a binge eater. And so I knew that if I had those foods in the house, and not even like standard American diet foods, I'm talking like oatmeal, pasta. Like if it was in the house, at some point I would make it and eat it all. So I had this identity about myself that I was a binge eater. And so even it's interesting because the people who um, judge what I do and say, oh, well, you should just go back to Eat to Live. Yeah, tried that hundreds of times, hundreds of times. And even when I did do it back in 2015, 2016, it was hard. It was like almost impossible to stick to. And then when I started having kids and then the breast cancer, and COVID and all these things, not possible anymore. It doesn't reflect, um, here's where it gets sticky because it doesn't reflect a lack of willpower or something on my part. It's not my fault. It's that the particular way of eating isn't meant for a person with a real life, with a real full life. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And she says, yes, living the single life, it was easy to just buy the healthy stuff. Yep. But then actual life kicks in. You become a real grown adult, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, and you have way more responsibilities. Life kicks in, and then it's just not realistic anymore, right? But let me say it again, it doesn't reflect an issue on your part, right? It's an issue of it not being designed for a real human. Yeah. Okay. So old methods not working. Weight is creeping up. What does that look like? It's like I was saying, you could do it for a half a day and everything seems cool, but then it falls apart and you gain back whatever you lost, right? Maybe you could do it for 2 days. Maybe you could white knuckle it for 3 days, but then you gain it back. And it just feels like, life will never give me a break. I can never get enough days strung together where I can actually lose a significant amount of weight, right? And Jackie says, me too. Yep. So it feels like life is never calm enough to be able to make a dent in what we're trying to do, right? Something always throws you off. You have years of this like push, 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 cleanse, fast, as Brian said, obsessive scale watching, white knuckling, all that kind of stuff. Brian, me three. Yep. And what ends up happening, I just can't erase it. Let's see what we got over here. Okay, well, we'll work on this side here. Look at the daddy one. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to use this board instead of my iPad because that's all I got. Now, let's think of like the last 20, 30, 40 years, right? In our teens, our 20s, 30s, maybe is when we were like experimenting with this intense white knuckle dieting. Might have been like, hey, I'm going to go keto, or I'm going to do eat to live, or I'm going to do this or that. And it's like, I'm going to do this new thing now, right? Whatever that is, low carb, whatever. Atkins diet back in the day, slim fast like I did. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So let's say where we are right now is here. Back then it was at 20, maybe we're 60 now. In like this decade, 20, 30, 40, whoops, that's not very even. Okay, 30, 40 years old, 50 years old. So this time period right here is this like white knuckle dieting, right? Push, 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 intense. The menopause brain, there's words in there. I'm going to find them. Be patient with me. The back and forth, so to speak, the contrast of on plan to off plan is stark, right? It's like if we say on plan is like this, off plan is like, right? So think of that like stark contrast is the word I was looking for, between when we're doing it right and when we're off plan, on track, off track, stark contrast, right? So there's moments of push, but then there's moments of overeat. And it might even go so far as binging, right? Which is what I always suffered with. Because the hallmark of a binge eater, it's just overeating with an increased quantity and now an identity of I can't quit. I can't stop. There's something wrong with me, right? So if you want to know what binging is, it's just overeating for various reasons, but it's intense. It's like more overeating, and you start to think that there's really something wrong with you and you can't stop. Julia says, I cannot ignore the natural hunger drive. No more of that. I know the difference between that and boredom or stress. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and the techniques that I teach too, they're all about getting back in touch with that stuff, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. So, we talk about our 20s, 30s here is this intense thing. Now, what I want to talk about neurologically. So, the brain, right? And the brain is the biggest part of the nervous system. So, when I say nervous system, usually I'm just saying brain, like your brain, right? Of course, it's connected to a lot of different things peripherally and your spine and all that, but the brain is the one that kind of controls the show. Hey, leave me alone. Sorry, guys, let me turn this off. So, what has happened in the brain over these years? Now, we understand now how learning works. So, if you wanted to learn the piano, you wouldn't start with Mozart, you would start with scales, right? Learning how to connect the brain to the fingers and the eyes to the fingers so that you can read music and you can get a muscle memory for how to actually play a piano, but you can't start with Mozart. I mean, 99.9% of the people can't start with Mozart, I guess. So in order to be able to play Mozart later, you have to practice, right? And what you're doing there is you're creating new neurological pathways, new neurological patterns. Now, little did you know it, this cycle was also creating new neurological pathways. Just like learning the piano, just like learning to ride the bike, right? So you try this diet, and then you try this diet, and this one, this one, this one, this one. Now you've patterned in your brain restriction, overeating, or restriction, binging. And it could be, we talk about emotional eating. It's important to understand that emotional eating means any emotion that's connected to food. So if you're someone who typically will eat out of procrastination, right? That's a feeling. Like, I don't want to do this project. I'm going to go eat something instead, right? That's a feeling. It's like, I don't want to. It's like avoidance, right? Boredom eating, compulsive eating. Now, interesting about compulsive eating is that's more a subconscious one where it's become so patterned that you don't even notice you're at the fridge and you're eating already, right? Boredom, procrastination, sadness, stress, etc. There's like a lot of them, right? A lot of reasons that we eat emotionally, but all of them are because of feelings, whether they're subconscious or not. All of them are because of feelings. Yeah. So when we have patterned continually eating because we're stressed, or continually eating to get out of the pain of doing that project, or continually eating to get out of the pain of your marriage, or whatever that is, we pattern that stuff. We also pattern this intensity of thought as well, where it's either totally lax or totally strict. We pattern that. And over the years, when it's 40 years old, 50 years old, the brain starts to get tired. Yeah. The brain starts to go, whoa, this is too much for me. I can't do this anymore. This is why we have this thing where we try to do something in our 40s and 50s, and the brain just goes, uncle, we ain't doing that. Then we make up a story that there's something wrong with us. There is absolutely nothing wrong with us. In fact, our brain is acting exactly how it's supposed to, which is to learn and pattern. That's what brains do. They need to make things efficient. That's their whole job, is trying to conserve energy, make things efficient, survive, blah, 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 right? That's the whole point of the brain. So when it sees a pattern, it goes, oh, we just wire this again. It's on and off and on and off. This is what we do. I see she's trying to restrict again, so we're going to go back the other way. Brian says, when I was 20, I dropped about 40 pounds in 5 weeks. I did it twice, but it was tough to hang on to that loss. Working in a grocery store made it a roller coaster ride. Absolutely. So there we are, just like my story when I was 18, starting off the Slim Fast diet, we start patterning this restriction. We start patterning, and then just like learning this Mozart on piano, we think that restriction is the way to do it because it's just the thing we've always done. And it's the thing that brought some short-lived success, right? This exciting dopamine hit kind of success, like, oh, 20 pounds in a couple weeks, right? In 5 weeks. So then we start patterning, this is normal. This is what we need. But guys, there's a middle ground between this stark contrast of intense and totally off. Let's talk a little bit about that. So what actually matters here? When we do, so here's, I call this, if you've watched the recent podcasts, I talk about my MEL framework and the MEL rhythm or whatever. So I call this MEL, more, enough, less. Here's what actually matters. We have only ever dealt with more land and less land. I say the lands, right? More land, enough land, less land. More meaning overeating, emotional eating, binging, whatever, where you're trying to white knuckle and hold on to something, but you just can't. So you kind of just let go. That's like overeating, right? So I call this more land. We just like eating more, right? Then we try to counteract more land with less land. That's like typical dieting right now. Calorie restriction, just be in a calorie deficit, right? Like just do a calorie deficit, like calories in, calories out. Just eat less calories, move your body more, as if it was so simple. Because if it was so simple, we'd all be doing it, right? But the brain is actually important in this equation. Yeah. So I'm going to just put a little brain up here because the brain is actually important. We can't just like, what is this? Is this a brain? I don't know. Kind of. You get the picture. I think you get the picture. You can't just calories in, calories out. So I'm going to put calories in, calories out here. You can't just do that. Obviously, that's the equation. There's no other way to lose weight. You have to eat less calories than you take in. So thermodynamically, yeah, calories in, calories out is the only way to do it. But the brain matters. The patterns matter. The emotions matter. What you've done in the last 20, 30, 40 years, it matters. So you can't just say, oh, well, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just eat less? Why do you think, dummy? Because there's so much other stuff going on in my life and I got so many patterns. Yeah. So you say, there we go, Trudy. She says, that's it. I have tired brain syndrome. That's it. Slim, fast, Atkins, low carb. It's like, my life. Exactly. Hey, listen, I might have done the same stuff, right? So the brain matters. So if we're not taking into account the nervous system, meaning the brain, if we're not taking that into account, we'll never be successful. Okay. So the problem is we're only dealing with these two areas, more and less. More being overeating, this binging, emotional eating, whatever that is. And we try to counteract that with less land. Less land, fasts, restrict, calorie deficit, right? Like massive calorie deficits. The fasting, the people who try to eat 800 calories a day, the people who try to use vegetables and volume to try and game the system so that we can lose weight easily, that's going to crash at some point. The body's not dumb. Like the brain is not dumb. It's going to catch on. You cannot game the system. It's not how it works. Some people can game the system because maybe they're at the end of their life and they don't have a lot of time to game the system anymore. So it becomes easier. They have less responsibilities, right? There's some people that can game the system and be successful, like I did when I was in my early 30s and I didn't have any other responsibilities. So there are some groups that have the ability to do this, but what I'm saying is that for the rest of us, which is the majority of us, by the way, we're in this middle area here and we don't have the, I want to say this in the right way because it's not a problem what's happening. We just don't have that capacity. We don't have that, layout of our life or lack of impediments, right? We have impediments. We have stress. We have a lot of things going on. That's okay. It's normal. It's supposed to be that way. So we got to find something that works for us. Now, here's what doesn't work is trying to flip from more to less, more to less, more to less. This push, intense restriction thing to overeating, emotional eating, binging, whatever. The problem is is that it's not sustainable, clearly, because if it was sustainable, we'd all be at our goal weights and it wouldn't be hard. That's how we know it's not sustainable, going from more to less to more to less. Over calories, under calories, over calories, under calories. Yeah. What do we actually have to do instead? It's right here. It's the middle. It's the middle ground. It's what I call enough land. I want to call my method enough first, because if we're, and I see this all the time, people will come to me, they want me to help. So I try to help, and then they get frustrated. And they say, this is taking too long, right? And I say, it's because you've never learned how to be calm about your food first. You've never learned how to be patient and chill and figure this thing out in the time that it's going to take. And so the real skill here is not learning how to lose weight faster. It's not about losing weight. I'll explain in a minute. Stay with me on this moment. It's not about how to do this and get really good at restriction. It's about how to build patience for becoming a person who's always in enough land, meaning we get rid of overeating. So the first work is to learn to get out of overeating. And once we don't overeat anymore, I mean, like all the time, it's just like now we've patterned not overeating anymore. When we've patterned not overeating and now we're this person who just stays in enough land all the time, now when we're this person, less eating comes naturally. Here's how I know this to be true. And you know this to be true too. I'll explain what, once you've learned how to do enough land, excuse me, I'm getting over bronchitis, and you want less land to happen automatically, here's what that looks like. You've had this happen before, and it might even happen to you once a week or so right now. You have a really busy day. A bunch of things came up you didn't expect, and your food just kind of falls to the wayside. You don't really have much time to think about it. Let me know in the comments if this is something that happens to you on a regular basis, where you just get so busy and you have no time to think. And so food falls to the wayside. You don't think about it much. You end up either under eating or eating just the right amount. You don't overeat that day because you just don't even have time. Maybe you've got like just a few moments between a meeting, so you scarf something down, then you move on to the meeting or whatever. Let me know in the comments if this is a regular thing for you, because I know it is. And we all have these moments of just, there's just too much going on and food doesn't matter. If we are stuck between more and less land, what'll happen after a day like that is then we will overeat the next day and compensate. But if we have been good at learning how to do enough land, when we get into less land accidentally, that's when weight loss happens on its own. The body starts going, yeah, we don't really need it right now. We're good. I know we're going to be good because she's going to feed us. It doesn't matter if we have a little deficit right now. It's fine. And you're just going to lose weight naturally. I have a specific tool that I teach for less land, which is called gentle nighttime hunger. It's not a tool that you make happen. It's a tool that just happens because you set up your day earlier to work. Okay. So, excuse me. So the point being, we've constantly gone between overeating and undereating, overeating and undereating. And honestly, that's what we think weight loss is, right? We think weight loss is just restrict harder. And there's something wrong with me if I can't get it right, if I can't restrict harder, right? But actually what's happening there is we're just doing something that's not sustainable back and forth. And so what we want to learn is enough land first, which is being calm about food, being peaceful about our food, not overeating under any occasion, because why would we? That's enough land, okay? So if you undo more eating, now you're in enough land and less happens automatically. So, what's possible? Enough land. Let's talk about what that looks like, you guys. Enough land. This middle ground here, it's calm. Can you imagine a world where your food is calm? Your brain is calm. Yep. So Free Spirit says, yeah, for sure. Getting exercise, doing errands, skipped meals happens. Yeah, it just happens, right? Now imagine if every meal you had was weight maintenance. So let me explain also simply. More land is you're eating more calories than you need. Enough land is eating exactly the right amount of calories for your current body weight, and less land is eating less calories than you need. Okay. So if you're constantly in enough land, that's weight maintenance. And sometimes less happens just without you even trying because of what you've set up, this rhythm, this consistency that I teach. Less happens automatically because you get busy some days and the weight comes off by itself. But you cannot have that happen without becoming a person who's in enough land almost 100% of the time. This is not white knuckling. This is a natural byproduct of creating rhythm and safety. Okay, so let's talk more about enough land. Enough land. Okay. Enough land. Calm. Number one, calm. What do I mean by calm? I mean, when you go to a party and all your favorite foods are there, you don't freak out. It's not that exciting, right? Maybe now we're in a place where when we go to a party or something, or to a place with just like different food than we're used to, our brain lights up and it goes, or say you don't go out to eat often, or say you do go out to eat often and you still have this reaction, this patterned reaction of being super excited by a menu. You go to open the menu and it's, I just had a client the other day tell me this. She went to a restaurant. She had a plan for what she was going to eat before she went. She opened it up and it's just like the plan disappeared. She was like, I want this, 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 this. Okay, that's not enough land. That's more land. Enough land looks like opening up the menu and very calmly being like, that sounds good right now. And nothing feels like, oh my God, I have to have all of it. I need this also, and this, and this, and this. It's just a very calm decision. The brain doesn't light up anymore because we have like unpatterned the craziness. We've unpatterned the, I have to have everything thing. Okay. So that's enough land. It's calm. It's peaceful. Can you imagine being peaceful with your food? I always say this thing, in last week's video, I said this. In this week's video, I'm talking about it too. This idea where a food that seems really exciting to you now, it's like the one that you have issues with. If you can take a second, just type in, what are the foods that are kryptonite for you? What are the foods that feel really exciting for you? Like your favorite foods, the ones that light up those dopamine responses. What are those foods for you? Is it chocolate? Is it cake? Is it savory stuff? What is the stuff that lights up for you? So imagine you had that food right in front of you and your brain just went, oh, look, a calculator. Meaning you look at the food and it looks as exciting as a calculator. Like, this is plastic and some buttons. Like, this does not excite me at all. I mean, maybe if you're an accountant, it might be exciting, but not, you know what I mean? Like, not in the way we're talking about, like, it should be as exciting. Oh, there we go, Julia. Indian food. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Like oil, salt, cheeses, the meats, all so yummy and creamy with the rice and the carbs and the whatever. Can you imagine going to an Indian place and just being like, no, it's whatever. And you eat a small portion and you realize you're full and you're just like, take this away. Nothing happens in your brain. You're not like, oh, gotta have more. Imagine that. There we go. Chocolate chip muffins. There's another one, chocolate chip muffins, right? Maybe it's those little mini ones with the little chocolate chips or the big fat ones, right? Brian says chocolate, cashews, and raisins. Yeah, I eat them by the handful if there's any in the house, just right. Jackie's is cake. Yep, I hear ya. Ooh, I hear ya, right? These foods feel like our kryptonite. Imagine if you could look at them and they looked like this exciting. This is zero excitement, right? It's like, whoa, boring. Can you imagine just looking at it and being like, trail mix, yay, whatever. Like, you take 3 bites and then you're like, kind of dry, right? Brian, can you imagine that? Like having the trail mix there and being like, ugh, I don't want any more. Or like a whole cake, your favorite cake, Jackie. Like, I don't know if it's chocolate or whatever. Mine would be probably like maybe a vanilla cake with chocolate frosting or something like that. But it's like moist, it's perfectly baked, perfectly moist, just perfect. And you get a piece of it, and the person serving you, you actually think in your head, "Ooh, that was kind of big. I don't really want all that." Can you imagine? What? Yeah. Julia says I eat too fast when I'm that excited. Exactly, right? So imagine these foods, your Indian food is right in front of you, and there's so much space and peace and calm in your brain. You're hungry too. Imagine, even if you're hungry, your brain still has enough space to be able to navigate eating just the right amount. What? Do you see where I'm taking you? This is enough land, where everything is enough. We don't need extra of anything. Why would we? That's where we're going. That's how you get to, that's enough land. That's what it's like. How you get to, I'll talk to you about that in a minute. So, how do we go from being a, I have to have everything to, oh, I have to calorie deficit, aggressive cut, right? To, nah, it's all good. Everything is all good all the time, even if I'm hungry. And sometimes I eat less. What? It sounds crazy. This is where we're going. So you feel supported. You feel freedom. Ease. Oh, this is my favorite one. Ease, like 100% of the time, not 95% of the time. 100% of the time is just ease. Like go to that company Christmas party, doesn't matter. Go to, some religious holiday that you always go to. All your favorite foods are there from your childhood, whatever. It's not a problem. and then weight drops on its own. What? The body changes on its own. Insulin levels drop. So and cravings calm down. And as cravings are calming down, dopamine's calming down too automatically. And listen, we don't need to restrict and turn into a perfect plant-based, no salt, no oil, no sugar person in order to make this happen. This can happen just by patterning correctly our brains again. So I'm going to show you how we do that. So why does this work? So we're talking about enough land. Why does enough, like getting to enough land and being a person who's almost all the time in enough land, why does it work? Because it fits your life. So what we're talking about is the types of foods we're eating, we've gotten to a point where all of them are okay. And then we're not saying like, oh, we just eat junk food all the time and it's wonderful and everything's great. We still care about our health. We still care about vegetables and nutrients and fiber and protein and things like this. We still care about that stuff. And we still eat salads because we actually want them now, not because we've been told to have them. We get to a place where just like we don't have to overdo anything because we don't really care. It's like not that exciting, right? The Indian food, the chocolate, the cake, the trail mix, all these things, our list is no longer exciting because we're here. We're not like, we don't feel, what's the word? Oh my God, you guys, oh, words are hard. Deprived for any reason. Things don't feel scarce. We just eat what we need. We're done. That's it. The reason it works is because you don't have to have a specific diet. There's a couple of things that are important here, like protein and sort of rhythm, not skipping meals. These things are important, but those things are not hard to do. It's not like you don't have to white knuckle to make that sort of a thing happen, right? It's just like eating. It's not eating. Not eating is hard. But the stuff I'm talking about, like getting enough protein so your body feels safe, getting not skipping meals so your body feels safe and it knows it's going to get the food it needs, making sure you eat carbs and fat and things like that, because it works with everyone's current life. Doesn't matter what your life looks like, because this is very flexible. There's no specific way of eating. It's just that we want to make sure we get enough macronutrients, like we want to get enough protein. This is something maybe we need to talk about because most of my audience came to me from Eat to Live and Nutritarian, which is the complete opposite, saying, no, protein doesn't matter. In fact, keep your protein as low as possible. We should have that conversation sometime soon. But it works with your current life and your current nervous system. That's why Enough Land works, because it means your food is flexible. Nothing feels crazy anymore. You can eat the Indian food. You can have cake, all these kinds of things. And you can still be stressed out too. This is the big point. You can have stress. You can have a flat tire. You can have someone who gets diagnosed with something. You can break a leg. You can, have a new baby. You can do all these big, huge life things. You can still stick to this. You can still be this person. That's why it works. And if it doesn't work with all of those things, when life is like a big old roller coaster, then it doesn't work. It also works because there's no willpower required here. If willpower is required, like challenges, forcing, fasting, cleanses, things like that, if willpower is required, very restrictive eating, it's going to fail at some point. And it's not your fault. That's just the nature of life. Yeah. So it works because there's no willpower involved. It lets your natural life stress be a part of it and it flows with it. It's sustainable forever, no matter what's going on in your life. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about, so excuse me, guys. The title of this is 3 Keys to Lower Your Set Point After 40. So very briefly, what are those 3 keys? First key is stop eating more than you need. Learn how to stop overeating. That's what my program does. So I'm talking about Set Point Restore now, which is my coaching membership. Inside of Set Point Restore, I got a bunch of members. We're all learning my program, which is about how to stop overeating first, then how to be in enough land permanently, and how to let less happen naturally. Those are the 3 keys. First key being you have to get rid of overeating first. If you're a binger or you're a person who does a ton of emotional eating, it's not going to work. You're going to just go from more eating to less eating, to more eating to less eating, overeating to undereating. That is not sustainable. Can't keep that up the rest of your life. And this word, durable. We need something that's going to be durable throughout all the stages of our life. All the stages of our life. So no matter what's going on, it needs to be durable. It needs to work through everything. Okay. So those are the 3 keys. First, learn how to stop overeating. Then learn how to be comfortable in enough land and let the brain start to calm down and let less happen automatically. Those are the 3 keys. Those are the 3 keys. Those are the 3 keys. Okay. So how do we do this? The way that I do it right now, if you don't know me, I've been coaching for almost 10 years now. So I was doing a lot of Eat to Live coaching for a long time. Then it turned more into sort of mindset. How do I stick to Eat to Live? Even though it's too hard for me to stick to it, how do I stick to it? That's the bulk of my coaching, is how do you stick to something? And my life transitioned, as I mentioned in the beginning, with lots of big things happening in my life. And it got to a point where Eat to Live wasn't feasible or interesting for me anymore. So I evolved past it. I evolved through it to something new. And that's what I teach now. It's not a specific way of eating. It's how do we set up this more enough less thing how do we how do we first get rid of overeating? Then we become comfortable with enough land, and then less land happens on its own. This is what I teach now. So I want to talk a little bit about the successes that my current members are having. And I have a couple of members in here right now if y'all want to pitch in with some thoughts about your experiences in Restore. So I would have had this on the screen for you guys to read, but I'll just read it because I can't use the screen, obviously. So one member realized that this particular food that she thought she couldn't control herself around wasn't actually the problem. She noticed that she didn't particularly want it on relaxed days, but on some days she craved it super intensely. So we did this one particular thing that I call reality planning. This is part of my program. I taught her reality planning. She used this particular food with reality planning, and I also have a technique that I teach you called food neutralization. And these two techniques together make it so that any food that you feel is kryptonite, right? Indian food, cake, candy, chocolate, trail mix, whatever. You can take any of these foods and turn them into exciting as a calculator kind of a thing. So what she did was she planned to have this particular food so she could try to neutralize it. But what happened immediately was that the day that she went to go eat this food, she didn't even want it anymore. What? Guys, this happened in just a couple months. Just a couple months for this particular member who had a food, who thought that she couldn't resist, and learned very quickly, I mean, really within a week or two of doing the actual exercise itself, realizing, wait a minute, I'm actually not as addicted to this food as I thought, which creates an immense sense of power and control, empowerment, and then that leads into calm, peace with food. Okay, that was one story. Another member described a food that she previously felt was tempting and charged sitting in her freezer. And then she genuinely had no desire to eat it again. Like this food that would, I've had clients say that foods are magnetic or they're calling out to them or they can't resist them or whatever. So this particular client had a food in her freezer that normally would not be able to resist. And the morning that she went to eat it, she decided to eat something else because she just didn't even want it anymore, guys. Hold on, here's one. So Free Spirit, she's a member in Restore. She says, I actually have been able to go from having chocolate chip muffins as my trigger food to something that is neutral, thanks to your guidance in this program. I am currently in enough land most days. Hold on a sec, Cheri, here, because look, we opened up in, was it March? It was the beginning of March. So March to April to May, not even 2 months. I thought it was longer than that. It's only been 2 months. And you went from your trigger food, chocolate chip muffins, being supercharged to neutral in less than 2 months. That is insane. I love that. And what I teach in the program too is like, once you've done this with 2, 3, 4 foods, all of them are like this. It's just like, you're good. You're in enough land. Okay. So we bring you to enough land first. Yeah. So a WGH girl says, lightly sweetened cold cereals. I always end up eating too much of it throughout the day. Yeah. So imagine I can take you in 2 months in my program to being always overeating on lightly sweetened cold cereals to never doing it again. Can you imagine that? That like cereal looks like this when you're done. No, not Eat to Live. We don't do Eat to Live anymore. If you want to do Eat to Live, we can, but that's not what I teach anymore. Another member had been discouraged because her weight had not been moving the way she hoped. So rather than responding with more restriction or a panic, she focused on steadier protein intake and a calmer evening eating rhythm. And then soon after which she saw that scale move down again. She started to feel hopeful about the process again. So we can go quickly from enough land to less land. So once we get here, and this is what we might call stabilization, right? So once we get over more eating, and there's 3 techniques that I teach when you first get into Restore. So the first one is reality planning. The second one is food neutralization. And the third one is hunger and fullness. Those are the only three things I teach you in order for you to get into enough land. And we just had an awesome um, testimonial from Free Spirit here on how she went to enough land in just 2 months. So now we're in enough land, calm, peaceful, supported, freedom, ease about all the foods, especially the biggest trigger ones. Now less land will occur on its own. And I have a technique I was telling you about earlier. It's called gentle nighttime hunger. And that is what we use in order to actually create some less very easily. But it's not something that we have to force anymore. It's something that will happen naturally. And there's no stress behind creating gentle nighttime hunger. It happens on its own. Okay. So peace, what we're hearing in these testimonials is peace and calm, control and ease. And if we can imagine a world like that, and food is no longer an issue, man, what else could we conquer? So your next step. First of all, this is about all for my lesson today. Let me know if I'm going to stick around for a couple more minutes. I got to rest my lungs here. You can tell I'm struggling a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions. Is this resonating for you? Do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts? Let me know. Are you considering joining Restore? Here's what will happen if you want to join Restore. So what is Restore? Restore is its own standalone coaching membership. It's a monthly membership. What do you get in it? Let me write this down so it's easier for you to visualize. So we have a website that you go to. This is Restore. It's kind of like Facebook, but it's only us, right? So it's only Restore members in there. You can post and stuff like that. There's a course. It's it's not finalized yet, but everything that you need is in there already. So you start off, you can do the course, meaning you're going to learn. We've done a few coaching calls and you can watch these trainings. The trainings are listed in there to teach you the 4 tools, reality planning, food neutralization, hunger and fullness, and then gentle nighttime hunger. So you're just going to learn these 4 things. You can start practicing it. Look, this only took Trudy 2 months to get there. So you might need to be there for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months before you're like, yeah, I got it. Maybe 6 months, right? It's not like this is going to take forever kind of a thing. You can get into enough land in just a couple of months, move into less land and figure out how to start lowering that weight. As you're creating these over the course of a few months, let's say 3-4 months with us, as you're creating more rhythm, more safety, more consistency, more calm, more ease in your brain, in your heart, in your body, things start to happen in a really great way physiologically. So not only mentally are you going to get some peace, but you're also going to get some peace in your the way that your body works. So if we're able to create consistent rhythms with protein, less carbs than we used to, or, the foods that we used to binge on all the time, if we can get more protein and things like that, we will end up having better insulin sensitivity. Our insulin levels will get better. We'll be able to have less junk over time, more vegetables, increase our fiber content. So over time, when the brain starts calming down about food, it desires more of the good stuff. So this can have actual health effects. So imagine in just a few months, we can rewire a lot of this patterning that we've created over the years very quickly. And then we can learn how to be in less land. You can eat however you want. There's no particular diet that we're following. So I'm going to teach you these 4 things. You're going to practice it with me. We have coaching calls. So we do, at this point, it's technically 2 calls per month with me live, just like this. So you would come on the call. Anyone can come on the call, and then I would coach someone 1-to-1, and we would talk just about your specific struggles and how it's going with this. Yeah. We do 2 calls per month. Anyone can come on the replays. You can watch all the replays if you want. And I do more than 2 calls right now, just because it's the beginning of the program. We just opened up 2 months ago. So you have 2 calls a month. You have the ability to talk to anyone in there, make friends, see other people's responses, and cheer people on and things like that. And yeah, when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. This isn't like you stick around for 2 years or something. We can if you want. I'd love you to, but it's a fairly quick process. It's a month-to-month thing too, so you can just cancel if you need to have a financial issue or whatever. And then here's how you get in. You could join right now, but if you go on a oh, I'm sorry. I'm offering these calls now, and I call it a 2-step call. It's a 15-minute call with me. Okay, we call it a 2-step call. It's 15 minutes with me, live on Zoom, free and totally private, just me and you. It's free, as I said. 2-step call, meaning first step we're going to do is we're going to find out what's going on with you. Then the next step is we're going to find 2 things that you can move forward with. One of those things might be joining Restore or private coaching with me or whatever, but I'm definitely going to give you at least, if Restore isn't for you, and that's totally fine, I'm going to give you at least 2 other things that you can begin working on immediately without me, so you can start to create more of enough type eating, okay? So as I said, it's free, it's 15 minutes, and you just can go sign up for it anytime. You can go to my calendar, pick a time that works for you, and we'll do 15 minutes, okay? And you can go sign up for one of those. Let's see. I'll just get rid of this part. You go to setpointscience.com/2step. setpointscience.com/TWOSTEP. Okay, you can go sign up for one of those calls if you like. And on that call, if you complete a call with me, I'll give you a discount on Restore. Okay, so if you join Restore now, it's $149 a month, $149 a month for the 2 coaching calls, the course, as well as your ability to get into enough land and learn how to get into less land, stop overeating, stop binging, all that permanently. $149 a month. But if you do a 2-step call with me, just 15 minutes, we'll talk about a discount and how you can get in there for a little bit less per month. And that way I get to know you a little bit. I get to know more about your struggles and how I can help you. And you will walk away with 2 things that you can begin working on now to start bringing yourself to enough land. Okay. All right. Any questions? Anything? I don't see any questions. So I'm going to hop off here. Let me know if y'all have anything. I'll just give it another minute here. I love these live videos. I just got to say, live video is like, it's my favorite thing in the world to do, literally. Oh, Trudy, thank you. She says, highly recommend Set Point Science program with Cheri. She is a wealth of information and a great diet coach and life coach. Mwah! Thank you, my Trudy. I always appreciate you. You're so enthusiastic, but also very supportive. And I love that about you. And there's a lot of other women in there who are just like Trudy, supportive and loving and all working on the same stuff. So come in. We'd love to have you sign up here. Let me actually put it in here. Where do I write? Where can I write a comment? Oh, there we go. Okay. So you guys, if you want to sign up for a call with me, as I said, they're free. What is happening over here? HTTPS setpointscience.com/2step. Okay, that's where you can go to sign up for a call with me. You just book a call right in there. It'll be free. It's 15 minutes, and we'll find some things to move you forward. Okay. Paul asked if I have a twin. No, but I do have twins. I have twin daughters. So that's fun. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for today. I am planning to do these once a month, if not more. I thought about maybe like doing them on more than just, oh, Jackie. And there's my other client, Jackie, who says, definitely the best thing I have done, plus her private coaching. Yeah, me and Jackie been friends for a while with the coaching. I'm so honored to have you women in my life. And in my live and in my life. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate you. Oops. Okay, so the plan is to be able to have these lives once a month on YouTube, but I was also thinking maybe I could do. I don't think I, I don't think I can commit to once a week, but just because of the kids and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to regularly do these on different networks too, like maybe on Instagram, Facebook, maybe something like that. So thank you, Brian. Yeah, I hope I feel better soon too. But we'll say I've been in bed for like 5, 7 days. And so the fact that I'm up doing this now means things are on the mend. So I appreciate you. Thank you for your time, y'all. Sending you love tonight. And I will be sending out information about the next one. And hope to see you on that one. Happy Wednesday night and see you soon.